Back during War Thunder's early days, War Thunder prided itself with a plethora of playable vehicles to the point that it was able to earn the Guinness Book of World Records record for most plays in a single flight simulation game. In this video, I'd like to throw out some vehicles that I'd like to see in War Thunder that do not necessarily fit the meta. As a disclaimer, the way these vehicles will be accessible, be it event, battle pass, or tech tree, does not matter. These are just vehicles I wish to see and would be fun to have playing with friends in custom battles. Some of the vehicles here are tied to mechanics I'd love to see in War Thunder at some point, and I'll discuss briefly how such mechanics could work. This is a three-part series in which begins with tanks, then followed by aircraft, and finally actual features that aren't tied to specific vehicles I'd like to see in War Thunder. I won't unfortunately do naval, as I'm not an avid naval player. For the 10th spot, I'd like to see the 1S91 radar vehicle paired with the 2K12 Kub missile system. From here on out, a lot of the features I'd like to see in War Thunder are non-combat support roles, and here is the first. I'd like to see the 1S91 radar vehicle illuminating targets for the 2K12 Kub missile system. A radar vehicle that gains assist by acting as the guidance system of a missile system could work. However, it seems that the Kub will become overpowered with such a team-up as it has a 22-kilometer maximum range. I could argue that it's balanced with 3 missiles only, but balancing is not the aim of this video, and this is merely an "it would be nice to see" type of video, and not an actual gaijin please. For the 9th spot, I'd like to have the Komatsu ARV for Japan. Armed with only a 25mm Ehrlichman gun, I believe this could be a fun addition to the tech tree when it comes to light scout vehicles with no capability to fire ATGMs. This could open the way to the Fresha, the Lav 25, and the BTR-90. Granted, Gaijin has implemented the BTR-90 with the ATGM launcher. For low tiers, the Humber Mark III with a 15mm Besa or Mark IV with 37mm could be added, as well as a Staghound armored car for the British. I have a few ideas to improve the spotting system in scout-oriented vehicles, but that would be a can of worms I'm not willing to open today. For the 8th spot, I'd like to see the Hotchkiss H-35 with Stuka fuse for the German tree or French tree. Essentially, it's a Beutepanzer H-35 with 4 Wolframen 40 rockets, also known as the walking Stuka. There's really no obvious advantage to the 4 rockets if they are incapable of direct fire, 4 rockets or walking ammo racks. I'd like to also have the Sonda Kakadtoy 251 with 6 Wolframen rockets in the same vein. For the 7th spot, I like the BMD series. The BMD-1, BMD-2, BMD-3, and BMD-4 are airdroppable cousins of the BMP family and are equally as, if not more capable than the BMP family. Airdroppable vehicles have been around in War Thunder for a long time in the form of the ASU-57, ASU-85, and the M5.1 Sheridan, and if it were possible to implement these with their airborne spawn included, it would be pretty cool to see. For the 6th spot, I like the Humvee, the VBL, and the Komatsu LAV. All 3 could be fitted with an ATGM launcher. I've always wanted to see these vehicles come in some form in War Thunder. For the Soviets, the BRDM-2 could be added in so many forms. The Humvee could come with a tow launcher, the VBL has a Milan fitting with a thermal camera, or the export variant of tow launchers as well. The Komatsu Lab is a bit difficult, however, since the Type 87 MAT is not mounted on the LAV itself, but wielded by an infantryman and fired from the hatch. For the 5th spot, it would be nice to see the KD-8, Sherman Crocodile, TO-62, and M67 Zippo. Flamethrower tanks would have next to no use in War Thunder, since implementing fire damage to tanks would be extremely tedious for the payoff. However, they could be used to cause destruction and smoke when burning the environment. They can be used for blocking different aircraft and even ground forces if it's strong enough. Now, not sure if UL2 or older graphics can handle continuous smoke troops. I have to believe that this is an actual viable strategy if one were so inclined to use flamethrower vehicles in combat. Number 4, I'd love to see the Cromwell 6 in the Churchill AVRE. The Cromwell 6 was equipped with a 95mm that could fire HE, smoke, and heat shells. The intrawar Churchill AVRE was not equipped with a 165mm L9, but rather a 290mm spigot mortar that fired the so-called Flying Dustbin 40-pound bomb. However, if Gaijin was inclined to be as lazy, The Churchill Mark 7 AVRE fitted post-war carried the 165mm L9 used on the Centurion AVRE. I just love derp guns in all its glory after the HE rework, and while the reloads make them not viable for regular combat, it would be fun to see them move around and dunk 40-pound bombs at tanks. Number 3, it would be the armored personal carriers. The BTRs, the LAVs, the AAV-7s, the Namur and the Axelite, the Boxer and the Fuchs, and the OT-64. While these are largely unarmed, if they were to be implemented into War Thunder, they should have a bonus in capturing points, such as decreasing the time to capture a point. Troop crawlers would be a difficult vehicle to implement in combat-oriented game modes. But if War Thunder ever decides to steer away from active combat and instead create an operation and tactics-based game mode, troop crawlers would be massively helpful. The penultimate vehicle I would love to see implemented would be more half-tracks. The Sando Kaftadzoid 10 with PAP-38 and the T-48 with a 57mm AT gun in one. If Gaijin were to take my previous advice and add operation and tactics-based game modes, the Japanese could have the Type 1 Hoha half-track for use in their arsenal, along with a French P-107. And finally, the top vehicle I'd love to see in War Thunder, the BM-21 Grad, the N270 MLRS, with the Type 81 for China. Rocket artillery has already had a precedent in War Thunder with the BM-13, Type 75 MLRS, and T-34 Calliope. I feel that rocket artillery would be nice collectibles to have in War Thunder and great fun to have within trying to destroy the environment in custom battles. But the BM-21 Grad could be given away in an event specifically for it, like the BM-13N all those years ago. The Grad would symbolize the transition Gaijin has made from World War II into the modern age. So that's all the top 10 vehicles I'd like to see in War Thunder. If you have any comments or any ideas on what you'd like to see in War Thunder, comment down below and make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and remember, Gaijin please.